Kovacs Report is back, this time on time, as usual, with Jimmy X. Jimmy, it's been an interesting week in comics.
Yeah,
The new absolute Batman sold over 200k, so DC are smiling.
From pre-orders, yeah, that's cool.
I know. We've got all our books ready. So, spoiler show. Read them if you got them. I'm going to tell you everything that happens in my books. I'm not going to be nice, some of them. Jimmy's always nice, so you're okay.
Well,
let's jump into it. Yeah, you are. You're a nice boy.
Yeah, right. Okay. So kick it off this week with Absolute Power Task Force 7, Issue 7, the end of this spin-off to the DC event. Published by DC, written by Dan Watters, the incoming new Nightwing writer. He's also writing the Destro mini for Energon universe. With art by Fran Galan and cover art, as always, beautiful cover art from Pete Woods. Okay, so after decimating and depowering the American DC heroes, Amanda Waller and our Task Force 7 of Amazo robots have turned their sights on the rest of the world. Now, this book features a lot of Z-list heroes that I was not familiar with, and I doubt you will be either.
Cannon fodder.
Which made it a bit of a slog. But the gist is, okay, so we start with Red Star of Intercorps, contacts the official Global Guardians, the new Global Guardians, and Eurocorp, saying he knows there's bad blood between them, but he has to warn them the Amazos have gone international. Cut to the Amazo, who's got the powers of Martian Manhunter, in Berlin, taking down the beautifully named Little Mermaid and Huntsman of Eurocorp, draining their powers. However, Night Runner, the parkour-using Batman of France, evades capture. From their mirror world, the new Global Guardians, with amazing names like Tasmanian Devil and Freedom Beast, urge him to find a mirror so they can reach him. I'm really sorry if I'm slagging your favourite characters here, but I've never heard of them.
They're not my favourite characters, so have at thee.
He angles the mirror towards the robot and they spring through it to help. Thunderlord is absorbed, but he overloads the Amazo and the malfunctioning robot falls into the water below. Only momentarily, though, as while different factions first celebrate they've done what the Yanks couldn't, and then bicker. The robot then returns, taking them all down and absorbing everyone's powers. It's over. All of the heroes of the DC universe are defeated. Waller notes that this Amazo shall fittingly be named Global Guardian. And then we cut to the B story. It's time to catch up with our old mate Steve Trevor, and he's in the midst of a superhero prison breakout on Gamora that's playing out in the issues of Green Lantern and Wonder Woman tie-ins to this event. That's been spearheaded by Wonder Woman and the Damian Wayne Robin. So Steve's been separated from them in the chaos, and Wonder Woman wants to go and find him, but Robin tells her that we have to get the depowered heroes to safety after they've broken out of the prison. Steve then contacts her through a captured enemy communicator, telling her that he's pinned down under enemy fire, but he knows what Waller's plan is. She's built a machine. Capturing the heroes of Earth is no longer enough for her. She wants to depower, and her end game is to depower every single hero in the entire DC
what
multiverse.
A bitch.
This is to be concluded next week in Absolute Power issue 4. So yeah, I mean, the writing was pretty good from Dan Watters, but the fact that I was reading about characters I didn't know really
it detracts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Such a shame.
But yeah. I mean, if you're reading the rest of it, I don't think this was a fitting finale for the 7th issue, though.
One of those tie-ins. So, thumbs up or thumbs down, Jim? You got to make a choice. All right then. Moving on. Back to Marvel's Wolverine Revenge 2. Jonathan Hickman. Jonathan Hickman, what are you doing, mate? With art by Supremo, Greg Capullo. All right. Last issue wasn't Hickman's best work. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
But anyway.
This is true.
It is true. The world is living with the fallout of Magneto's death. And Asteroid M crashing into Earth. Huge electromagnetic pulse being sent out. Most of Earth's power going down, threatening to cause hundreds of millions of more deaths. In issue 1, so Nick Fury, Dum Dum Dugan, Wolverine, Cap, Bucky Barnes, and a whole load of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were killed on a failed S.H.I.E.L.D. mission to Russia in an attempt to save the world by stealing that cold fusion seed generator from the Brotherhood of Mutants. Long story short, everyone dies. However, Wolverine has stitched himself back together and he's pissed off. Side note, amongst the Brotherhood are Mastermind, Sabretooth, Omega Red, Colossus, and Deadpool. Anyway, issue 2 kicks off with Wolverine looking pretty sad. He's standing over the coffin of Captain America with his shield on, American flag, you know the thing. And he can smell Nick Fury in there. So I can smell you come out of the shadows, which he does. He didn't die. We all thought he did. But anyway, what he had done is sent one of his life model decoys. And then we pan out to see like a warehouse full of coffins. You know, all the people who died of the mission. Anyway, after a bit of a fiery exchange with Nick Fury, we jump to 3 months later. Wolverine is in the Dakotas where he bumps into... who is it? Forge and Danny Moonstar. That's it, Danny Moonstar.
Oh, they're from the Mutants,
yeah. And they seem to have a power source, which is strange. And Wolverine wants to know all about it. Anyway, 2 days later, Forge and Wolverine, like who's hell bent on revenge. They're flying along on some kind of land speeder, like Star Wars when it's got a little land speeder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're heading towards the impact zone of where Asteroid M hit Earth. They want to dig Magneto up. When they get there, all the remnants of the asteroid are gone. It's like been picked clean. It's just a huge crater. Must be all the Magneto fanatics, Anyway, sure enough, they dig up Magneto's skeletal corpse because they want his helmet, presumably to protect Wolverine from Mastermind's mind powers so he can go on his revenge. Anyway, Forge gets to work like he does, and he modifies the helmet for Wolverine. And we skip to a pretty run-down city where all the inhabitants seem to be under Mastermind's brainwashing mind power spells. And Wolverine's all like hooded up and cloaked, looking all in disguise as he walks through the streets, where he finds Mastermind somewhere being fed grapes by babes. Obviously they've been mind-fucked. Anyway, without revealing his identity, he asks Mastermind where the rest of his goon squad are. Right? Mastermind tells him Colossus cast him, Deadpool, Omega Red, and Sabretooth out of the Brotherhood because they were beneath him. Mastermind decides he doesn't need to answer anyone's questions, and he tries to mindfuck Wolverine. But surprise! Whips off his hood, it's Wolverine, and he's got Magneto's helmet on, protecting him from the mind powers.
Oh, right, yeah, okay.
Wolverine beheads him, basically, and takes the bloody head to Forge, so he can brain probe him and find out where the other goons are. Once he needs the information, and while he's poking around in that brain matter, Forge tells him that he's been, in order to keep the lights on, using a refurbished Shi'ar pulse drive. I was like, all right. Anyway, they get an idea of the possible locations of all the other little goon squad, and they discover that Sabretooth's actually just coincidentally in the Dakotas too. And Wolverine asks for the other thing that he asked him to make. He says, is it ready? And then he doesn't tell us what it is. Such a shame. I would have stopped reading there anyway. Anyway, 1 week later, Sabretooth is also, I think, stitched himself back together. I think he got blown up in the first issue, but it wasn't memorable. He's eating dinner at night around a campfire in the Dakotan desert. And Wolverine just rides up casually on a dirt bike, on a motorcycle, gets off really calmly. They calmly stand in front of each other, bathed by the lamp of the motorcycle headlamp. And after a little chit-chat, which was quite calm, we kind of established that Wolverine's there to settle old scores before he gets onto his current revenge. And they fight. Sabretooth seems to be winning. And as a fallen Wolverine, he looks up with a smirk, stabs Sabretooth in the gut, because Sabretooth's like, what's going on? My healing factor's not working. That's a bit weird, right? And then Wolverine goes, yeah, it's the head lie. I got Forged to neutralize healing power.
Okay.
Yawn. Anyway, some cheesy dialogue. They clash again, maybe for the last time, and the issue ends there. Well, this isn't, again, Hickman's best work. I mean, the only thing that's keeping this book alive, really, is Capullo's art, because it's off the charts good. And of all the cool shit that Forge could make, he made a headlamp on a motorcycle to stop the healing power. And does that mean Wolverine's healing power is also neutralised too? I don't know. Nothing's explained. I think I'm done with it. I can't recommend it.
I didn't read it.
Mate, don't. I mean, I was really sad. Great team.
Yeah.
Looks good. Sounded good. Sucks. Sucked. I'll stop there with the swears because it's going to get worse. Anyway, moving on. What we got?
Yeah, okay, so we got Helen of Wyndhorn, issue 5, published by Dark Horse, written by Tom King, with art and cover art, beautiful art from
Very
Bill
nice
Quist,
art indeed.
Evely. Yeah. So Helen of Wyndhorn is like a mashup between the Chronicles of Narnia and Conan the Barbarian. It's both beautifully written and drawn by the creative team and told from the POV of a governess transcribing her story. It concerns the wayward teenage daughter of a recently deceased fantasy author, C.K. Cole, and his massive Wyndhorn estate, the outskirts of which turns out to be a gateway to a whole other world and the inspiration for his stories. Helen is addicted to alcohol and cigarettes after the death of her father, until her grandfather, a hulking old man named Barnabas, takes her under his wing and off to the other world.
The other world. Jim's getting his notes ready.
The other world she visited with her father as a child, much to her governess's disbelief, as Helen starts to become an expert with the sword, killing all manner of beasts, and then suffers a near-death experience in the other world, taking time to heal or causing a rift with her grandfather. So in this issue, we start in present day. I did not do it justice in that recap. Just read it. It's an incredible book. In this issue, we start in present day, and there's a collector of C.K. Cole artifacts in danger of losing them to his mum's garage sale if he doesn't go to our house and, quote, sort out his crap. I think we can all relate to that.
You definitely can.
Back in the past at Wyndhorn, a recovered Helen has fallen out with Barnabas, with him refusing to take her on any more quests and return to her old drinking habits. Drunk and angry, she sets off to the woods alone with her exasperated governess in hot pursuit, and she finds the crone of the crossing, an old witch in the woods. She's unintimidated by her threats, confides that when she was a little girl, the crone absolutely terrified her. She used to beg her dad to remove her from his stories, but he always refused. And then she basically just pulls a full-on Man of Steel and snaps her neck, killing her instantly, and closing off one of her granddad's transit systems for good. When he returns to the manor weeks later, he is not in a good mood, and tensions overspill again with him pounding in the middle of the night on her bedroom door. She tells him to stop or she'll kill him like she did the crone. He storms off again, and later that night, while she's looking for a rope in the shed, Helen finds a sack of fairies who, once released, float around her like fireflies. She tells her governess that she's been looking for a rope to, and this is getting morbid now, hang herself like her father did. As she can't return to the other world anymore, she's got nothing to live for. So the governess is shocked and startles the fairy just by yelling, "Helen, no!" making them fly away. Very worried, the governess tracks down Helen's grandfather way off in another part of the estate in a swamp and begs him to return to the manor. And he is, at that moment, in a stunningly drawn battle with a huge serpent in the swamp. She tells him to forgive Helen. She needs him. It's way too late to save your son, I know that, but it's not too late to save your granddaughter. And Barnabas turns back to her after slaying the beast, nodding with tears in his eyes, and they both return to the manor together. The issue ends with a picture of the box of transcribed tapes, as well as other various C.K. Cole books and artwork being readied for the dreaded garage sale.
Oh.
Yeah. So every issue of this book has been absolutely fantastic. Mostly, but issues 2 and 3, no, 3 and 4 were set in the other world, and it was just high fantasy like you wouldn't believe, channeling Conan the Barbarian fully. This was more set in the real world, but it didn't miss a beat. Tom King is a master of his craft. I take back everything I ever said.
I know. I said to you the other week. I said Tom King is a modern day Bendis. You know, there's a couple of them. Everything he touches almost seems to be gold.
I don't know whether I'm willing to go that far because of that issue of Wonder Woman, but this was incredible. Animal Pound was incredible. I would definitely picking up the last issue of this next week.
Amazing. Now, before we continue,
next month, not next week.
yeah, next month. Before we continue, we've got to give props to my 2000 AD t-shirt, because 2000 AD does not get enough love out there in the comics world. So I think we should broach on that soon. 2000 AD. That's what got me into comics all those years ago. Right. Talking about old comics, talk about new comics. A comic that you, in fact, recommended I read. Was it you? Who's to blame?
Blind Pick. Yep. Blind Pick.
Yes, yes. Okay, Revolution 9, number 1. Mad Cave, written by Mark London and art by Carlos Reno, which I'm not familiar with those two guys. So it's another Mad Cave one. They seem to be pumping out a lot of books. Some are incredibly good, and some are not. Anyway, let's talk about Revolution 9, number 1. So I'm going to try and speed review this book really quickly. So, secret Illuminati-style New World Order organization manipulating the world from the shadows, right? One of the Order's cells is run by a guy called Volta, and these spells have special ops teams of like hyper-trained killers who are sent out on secret missions to keep the world moving forwards and towards the Order's ultimate goal of world domination. Sounds similar and familiar to every other story like this? Right. Velveteen, now she is one of the special op team members for this particular cell. She's an orphan twin and was separated from her sister when she was young after she killed an abusive orphanage guard because they were in an orphanage together. They've got like, well, I forget what it's called when you got one colour eye and different colour the other eye. You know what I mean? You see the cute cats on Instagram with different colour. Anyway, they've got that. Jumping forward to today, she is mourning the loss of her lover, who was another agent of the Order, even though relationships between agents are forbidden and not really frowned upon. Anyway, she's being sent on a mission to kill a young hacker who has downloaded some sensitive information. It's also, unbeknownst to her, a test of her loyalty. Just in case Volta, her boss, has sent another agent along, incognito, called Indigo, to spy on her, and in eventuality she goes off mission or proves to be disloyal in a way, kill her. So, on the mission to recover this data and kill the hacker, because that's the Order's, Velveteen goes against the Order. Her plan all along was to rescue the hacker, acquire the information, and use it against the Order. The Order realised this, and their SWAT team busts in, which is followed by yawn, pages of unexciting girl boss being completely unkillable, super skilled. It's just like she kills her way out effortlessly. Anyway, outside, Velveteen and the hacker try to escape in a van. Indigo tries to stop them, but Velveteen just runs her over. Now, up until this point, Velveteen's been drawn with this like cold, emotionless, focused, serious killer, doesn't give a shit attitude on her face. And then suddenly, for one panel, she's crying her eyes out. She just run over Indigo, and it's like it's the only person who didn't deserve to be killed, and then speeds off, leaving her mangled corpse in the middle of the road. As this book is so predictable, dollars to donuts, mate. Indigo probably back with some upgrade, seeking revenge. Honestly, it doesn't get any better. I'll rephrase that. It doesn't get any worse. No, it definitely gets worse. I fooled you for a moment. Right, anyway, a few hours later, Velveteen is thanking a friend, random friend, don't know why, for helping her, who just so happens to owe her life as well. And then Velveteen and the hacker, they go inside and they sit down. And everything gets spelled out for us. No suspense, no surprises, just brute force. Here's the plot, because the writer doesn't know how to write a story where things play out over time, rewarding the reader bit by bit, creating that, wow, what's going to happen next? Why do they want this? What? Anyway, so the hacker and Velveteen, they go through the data he stole. I'll run through it quickly again, as it's so uninspired. Seers, secret scrolls of knowledge, key to taking over the world. And to add another trope into the pile, she reveals why she's betraying the Order. Because 6 months ago, they sent her on an assassination mission where she killed a human rights activist who just so happened to be her long-lost twin sister. Anyways, last page. The Order is bad. She's going to shut them down, and the front door explodes. Issue ends. So it's all girl boss. It's trope after trope. The background story, which is like, here, we need to give you this ton of information to make any of this interesting, which it doesn't do. In these little flashbacks, they're just brute forced in wherever they want to try and move the story to get to the story the writer wants to tell, which is the story of the, what happens next. There's no engaging backstory that you connect with. The characters you can't connect with. The main lead is unlikable and has, like you say, one expression except for one tear. Honestly, mate, nothing surprised. It's boring, boring, boring. And if you're not completely convinced of my opinion of it, I fucking hate it. I'm sorry, guys. So that's why we're going to move on to something I know that you love, which is Moon Knight.
Yeah. So Phases of the Moon Knight, issue 2, published by Marvel, written, and this would be a surprise, by Jed
Mr.
MacKay.
McKay? Yeah.
Yeah, not content with writing the ongoing book, he's off to do the anthology story as well, and also another story written by Declan Shalvey, who worked with Warren Ellis on his run on Moon Knight, with art by Jorge Fornes on the McKay story and Eden Messias on Shelby's story. The cover art is by Matthias Manahini. Each issue of this new anthology book.
Hold on, Jim. We've had a technical issue. There we go. I'll move back to Moon Knight. Off you pop.
Worries. Each issue of this new anthology book follows a different avatar of the moon god Khonshu, Moon Knight. Now, the first story is by no stranger to Moon Knight, Jed MacKay, with art by Jorge Fornes, and is really nicely drawn and coloured in the style of a 1980s published Marvel comic book.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's really, really beautiful work. It's set in that era too, with Mark Spector bounding across the rooftops searching for the twisted Rip and Tuck killer who has murdered 4 plastic surgeons in the last couple of months. And Moon Knight is backed up by his old original sidekick, Frenchie, piloting the classic Mooncopter.
You were so excited.
I geeked out when I opened it. I was just like, oh my word. So Spectre tracks down his quarry, confronting him in a closed shopping mall, shouting, "Come on out, Rip and Tuck killer. Let's have a proper introduction." The killer retorts, "Stupid name." Mark asks what he should address him as, and he asks, "What's your motto?" Like this: where brooding darkness spreads its wings, the night raven always stings. Moon Knight is taken aback by this, as he knows Night Raven was active in the 1920s, a masked vigilante. But he's dead, not alive, and he's not slaying plastic surgeons in the here and now. It can't be him. He steps from the shadows to reveal himself, and he basically resembles like an old school vigilante, like the Shadow or the Question. Night Raven explains that he used to brand the 4 heads of gangsters as a warning, inadvertently creating good business for plastic surgeons of the time to fix the damage. One, Dr. Mitchum Anderson, was not content with the small potatoes of fixing gangsters' faces. He started using traffic women, changing them into made-to-order companions for the wealthy and powerful, sculpting their bodies to the client's specifications, while the gangsters' drugs did the same to their minds. So really shady stuff.
Yeah, not pleasant at all.
He killed everyone involved way back in 1929, except the surgeon Anderson, naively letting him go after branding him, telling him people watching, but the surgeon went right back to it, bringing in younger doctors as he grew older, who brought in younger doctors as they grow older. They did this twisted stuff for decades because I let one man live in 1929. Now, he died in 1989, the original surgeon, and Night Raven tells him that 5 doctors continue his operation today. 4 down, 1 to go. Moon Knight says, leave it for the criminal justice system and spare the last one. So Night Raven's like, okay, I'm washing my hands of him, Moon Knight. He's your problem now. And the lives he ruins, all the things he turns people into for money, that's on you now. A week later, Spectre tells Frenchie that Night Raven was right. The police's hands are tied for technicality and they can't touch him. The lives he's wrecking are all on him now. And the tale ends with a tribute page saying, to Monek and Sinkovich, with respect and admiration, MacKay and Fornes. This was just a beautiful tribute to 80s issues of Moon Knight, which I love. And the second tale is by Declan Shalvey. So this is set in the far-flung future year of 2846. Khonshu's narration tells us the moon is leaving, the eclipse has begun, the planet is suffering, and the tides have turned ugly. We see a bandaged and cowled Moon Knight who's referred to as Soul, and we learn that the cult of Khonshu in this year believe that the Moon Knight must be sacrificed to Khonshu and have followed him all across the earth. Moon Knight awakens from a sarcophagus designed to heal him in a spaceship. It cuts to that, and the cult members are on him almost immediately. The Fist of Khonshu defends himself as he disengages power couplings, blowing a hole in the ship and blasting the cult members into space, battling them on the surface of the moon, where Khonshu tells him his power is limitless there. And he says to him, you reborn by the Forever Night, It will sustain you for eternity, and I'll carry you with me. You are my child, and you will never leave me. And that's where the issue ends.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, I mean the artwork on the second story was really really cool, but the first story was just I absolutely loved it. It was so good, and yeah, I'm going to keep picking up this little anthology, see what other creators get involved with it.
Nice.
Yeah,
I didn't
good
know it was
stuff.
anthology, so it's
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So that's
Benjamin
obviously
Percy did a really cool Crusade set story last issue.
oh,
That was really
okay.
cool. Yeah.
Okay. I might get into Moon Knight one day. It's just never been a character that I loved, and the TV show didn't do much much for my love of the character either. So anyway, let's move it on. We're a comic show, not a TV show yet. Right. Violent Flowers. So Maria Lovett did some cool stuff recently, which I picked up just by accident, and I really, really loved it. So I thought I'm going to give this a go. So it's a new book out from Image. She's art and writing. And before I review it, I'm going to give you a mini review of something else, right? So I was almost not getting a copy of this book, and I had to read something else as a backup to review. So I tried The Missionary from Distillery. And as a public service announcement, I want to let everyone know that there's a raging pile of vomit that tries so hard to be Garth Ennis and fails miserably. So don't make the same mistake I did. Avoid it. Should have known it was going to be terrible with Ryan Stegman at the helm, which has probably ruined any chance of an interview with Ryan Stegman on this show. But anyway, back to Violent Flowers #1. Right, this book is a visual delight. Right, this is what captured my interest with the other stuff she did, was the art, because it's beautiful. I had to read this book twice because I got a bit confused. I don't know if it was just me. It's no reflection on the book. So my review's going to be a bit shorter because I think of what's going on. So the issue unfolds within a dark and sensual world of vampires, because Maria Lovett's sort of style, she likes to add a little bit of sexiness and eroticism into her stories, and her art just bleeds this. And there's a pun because this is about vampires. But anyway, it's this world of vampires and supernatural beings, and the story revolves around the murder of the Sentinel, who is like a vampire who he watches over all the other supernatural beings like werewolves, vampires, and witches. Now, this does sound a bit like, well, it isn't. It's really, really adult. It's really well done. And his murder has brought this ancient clan of vampires all together to have this meeting, and they haven't gathered for centuries, right? So they need to discuss what happens next. At the heart of the story is Carnelia. Now, she's the Sentinel's sister, and she's vowing revenge of her brother's death. But unlike the other members of the clan, she's renounced her vampire nature pretty much, right? She doesn't like to drink the blood, and you can see that she's visibly aged without that blood. So she looks like a all like sort of sucked out, dried, shriveled up old woman, which is stark contrast to all the other immortals who are beautiful. How vampires are usually typically, shown in comics and films. Anyway, her abstinence from her vampiric urges makes her quite unique from this sort of the traditional vampire stuff. But she does drink some blood before the clan meeting. She reverts back to her, youthful, beautiful, younger-looking self. But her internal struggle with this is very clear throughout the whole story. So, the clan's queen assigns her the care of a mortal woman named Anna, who they're going to turn at some point. And Cornelia is reluctant to take on responsibility because she's focused on avenging her brother's death, right? Some other little bits that happen throughout the book, but I'm just trying to focus on those key central events. She views this as a bit of a distraction, but the Queen insists, suggesting that Anna has some greater importance yet to be revealed. So why is Anna? I don't know what's going on. There's this stuff feeling. You can really feel her resentment towards the clan all the way through the book. I guess it's going to get worse and worse. So near the end, she's pulled in all these different directions. And she has this sort of relationship with another vampire called Bion, and there's a saucy little scene with them when they fly in the sky and kiss and all that kind of jazz, which is very much Maria Lovett's style. which adds another layer of complexity to this whole journey she's on. So it's a debut issue, set stage for a tale of revenge, supernatural politics, personal transformation. Like I said, beautiful art, interesting premise. I think I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to reread it again because I don't know, maybe my brain wasn't in the right place. But I like it. And if just for the art, it's worth picking up and taking a punt on it, as they say, on Dragon's Den, if you watch Dragon's Den UK. Moving on. I recommend this for you because I thought, you know what? Jimmy loves Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Jimmy loves He-Man, Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, I don't mind some He-Man. Masters.
Put them together.
Masters of the Universe / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles of Grayskull, issue 1. I think that might be the longest title I've ever read out on this show.
It really was. I had to type it out several times.
Published by Dark Horse, written by Tim Seeley, who I remember from Hack Slash, pretty cool little book, and art and cover up by Freddie E. Williams. So I don't know what I've missed. I think this is a follow-up to another mini-series or something.
Okay,
but it just drops you in the deep end. Here we go. The story starts with the 4 Ninja Turtles literally phoning home, contacting April O'Neil and Splinter at their sewer lair all the way from Eternia via He-Man's sorcerer pal Orko. All 4 are dressed, if you can picture it, in Eternian gladiatorial clothes, so like helmets and furry pants and stuff. Splinter asks if they're okay, and they explain they were tracking Baxter Stockman's Mouser robots back to the TCRI building. Big points for Ninja Turtles stuff there, Mr. Seeley. And when they came across Krang and Skeletor making a deal, black magic for mutagen. So they rain hell on their parade, being transported to Eternia in the process. Apparently, if you mix Ultron mutagen with black magic, it turns any of Skeletor's henchmen into a major boss battle. And they've fallen in with and have been helping Man-at-Arms and Teela, as He-Man is currently MIA. Which is the reason they stayed. The Bushido virtue of honesty that they live their lives by requires them to. The call is then cut short as Man-at-Arms is planning an attack on the mutagen factory. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Master of the Universe all roar into battle thanks to a tip-off by the captured sorceress of Castle Grayskull. She watches them unite and she reveals that the message was meant to be a warning to stay away from that place. The super beefed-up Shredder, Skeletor and Krang all were prepared to receive the Allied forces. And at this moment, I was like, yes, this is going to be absolutely amazing. Shredder brags that the unified forces of the Dimension X, Foot Clan, and Snake Mountain will crush all who dishonor this. And he leaps at Man-at-Arms with his claws outstretched, with the turtles shouting "Cowabunga" and "Give 'em shell!"
Oh God!
An epic Lord of the Rings style battle begins with Skeletor releasing his secret weapon, a hideously mutated purple version of He-Man. But for some reason, the brainwash is no longer working, and he turns against the assembled horde, chopping up Krang's mutant body, and maybe Krang, it wasn't completely clear, with his sword. Then, really confusingly, a lady called Renee Tilly, apprentice timestress, appears through a portal, which completely blindsided me and took me out of the book reading experience completely.
Oh no!
And,
is that a throwback to the previous arc or something?
I think it must be. I don't want to be here when Master Splinter finds out. I need a do-over, and she hits a button and arrives at a prison cell, saying she needs to go back to a point before the Turtles and He-Man's paths cross to write the fabric of time, or something.
It's taken that route, has it?
And it turns out the Ninja Turtles are now back in their belts and bandanas and are gladiators in some kind of sci-fi Mojo-verse style arena, with cameras all around watching them, against classic TMNT aliens, the Triceratrons, which I give them points for because I used to love the Triceratrons. And He-Man enters the arena as well. So yeah, up to a point, up when it was all set on Eternia, I was completely behind this. The writing acknowledges both Masters of the Universe and Ninja Turtles, respecting the lore really, really beautifully. But then this time stress appears from nowhere, literally odd, out of nowhere, and it slammed on the brakes for me. I can't recommend this book. I'm really sad.
I thought I'd done a clever one and given you double whammy of stuff that you'd like.
If I had just read the first half of the book, we would have been okay. But yeah.
Well, we read the whole book with our reviews. So
That we do. We see it through to the end.
All right. Okay. Sorry, Jim. Moving on. So last week, it came out last week, but we didn't put our video out till what was it, Wednesday with a zero issue.
And it's Friday now.
It's Friday now, yeah. So Batman, The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, DC Comics, Jeff Loeb, and art by Eduardo Risso. So as we discussed, as we discussed last episode of the show, I had done a complete media blackout of anything for this. I didn't want to see any spoilers. I didn't even want to see any art. So I had no idea that it was going to be each issue drawn by one of Tim's friends and peers, which I think is a nice tribute, actually.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And this one happens to be Eduardo Risso, who we both love, with Dave Stewart, who I think is one of the best in the biz. So it's a killer package. Right. Okay. So issue up. It starts off with a nicely done recap from the previous volumes, real short, straight to the point, over a few pages. A killer called Holiday played Gotham for a year and eventually was caught. It involved the Falcone mafia crime family, and as a result of that, all of them, bar Carmine Falcone's son Mario, died. Harvey Dent became Two-Face, and he's been missing for a year with his wife Gilda. So that's what they give you, which is pretty much all you need to know. So back to the present day. Aptly, it's Halloween. I know. It's Halloween night, right? So Jim and Barbara Gordon are trying to get their son ready, take him trick-or-treating. He's dressed as Batman, much to Barbara's displeasure. You could feel the tension between Barbara and Gordon. You know, work is getting in the way of their marriage and their family, and you can really feel it. Anyway, they go outside, and while they're sort of kind of semi-arguing, they get distracted. And when that happens, their son is abducted, and in his place a .22 caliber pistol, the same type of weapon the Holiday Killer used, and a smashed Halloween pumpkin is left in his place. So we jump to Batman and Robin. You know what? I get so excited, I get tongue twisted every time. Batman and Robin. They're staking out a penthouse where a recently returned to Gotham Mario Falcone is living. Now, he was the good son of the family, wanted to go legitimate, you know. There's always one. And as the dynamic duo watch on, in the pouring rain, of course, Catwoman turns up and tries to break into the penthouse. Now, Robin, he wants to storm in there and catch her, but Batman says, whoa, slow your roll, right? Don't be too impetuous. You know, your youth and enthusiasm gets in the way. He's worried that's going to get him killed. Anyway, Catwoman breaks in, and it hasn't gone unnoticed because Mario's there, and he is not happy. He's not happy she's broken in. Anyway, while they're talking, there's this painting on the wall, which was Mario's parents holding a baby in her arms. But the painting's changed. There's no baby in the arms. And she's puzzled as to why is this painting different. He's also puzzled that she even knows about it in the first place. So he's like, well, how do you know this? You know, and if you read through the previous volumes, she's very interconnected to the whole Falcone story anyway. Anyway, they have a tense exchange, and we learn that Mario's been away for a year, and he's not just back for a holiday. You see what I did there? I know. I should write this. Anyways, much like Batman, she disappears into the shadows before he can finish his conversation, and he's hotly pursued by Robin, right? He just shoots out there when he sees her. This doesn't impress Batman at all, and he sort of swoops down behind him. Ready for Catwoman, Robin, at that stage? No, he's definitely not ready, mate. And she just dispatches him with this old cat of nine tails, bolus type thing around his neck, and he plummets to the ground. Batman's trying to catch him. Is he going to die? But the boy surprises him, and he lands on his feet, much like a cat. So while they're catching their breath, there's a gunshot, right? And they see Catwoman fall from the rooftops, and they rush over to see her, or what's left of her, and they find nothing but a .22 caliber pistol and a smashed Halloween pumpkin. Oh, I know. Batman deduces there must be like a copycat killer, and he's confused how someone could have shot her at a distance with a close range weapon. But before they get into it, the bat signal goes up, and we are zoomed over to a distressed Jim Gordon, who Batman arrives to hear the story of his son being kidnapped, and he wants his son back. He's understandably distraught, and he can't believe that all this drama is unfolding yet again on Halloween. You know, it's cursed. But Batman says, listen, there's something else you need to know about tonight, something relevant. But we cut to Solomon Grundy, and he's in the sewers guarding Harvey Dent and Gilda's little sewer hideout office. Suddenly, there's a chain goes around his neck. Gas canisters are thrown in. He's pulled into the floating sewer water, obviously to be moved away. I don't know where he goes. And these off-panel perpetrators shotgun the door open to a waiting Two-Face and Gilda. Now, they are surprised to see it's some of Joker's clown goons who look very, very, very much like the clown goons in the movie, which was a nice little touch because they look cool as hell. And before Two-Face can do anything, they shoot him in the gut. And the issue ends with Gilda holding a bleeding out Harvey in her arms as the clowns say, whoa, and I quote, "We're going to talk about holiday, Gilda Dent, or this will be your last Halloween." Oh boy. Oh boy, Jimmy. This was fast-paced, expertly written, beautifully drawn, and a perfect example of doing a good Batman story, right? Loved it. Bill on issue 2. 100% recommend anyone into Batman picks up immediately if they haven't already done so. I would even go as far to say it's even better than the previous volumes, just in these 2 little issues. It was just brilliant. And hats off to Eduardo Riso. He's done Tim Sale's super proud.
I can't wait to see his artwork.
It is beautiful. In fact, I would say again, and I'm blowing loads of smoke here, I think it's some of his best work. Some of his best work. It's absolutely stunning. So yeah, that's 100%. Please tell me this is good. Please tell me this is good.
Here we go. Uncanny X-Men issue 3, published by Marvel, written by Gail Simone, with art and cover art there by David Marquez. Previously in Uncanny X-Men, a shady government agency has turned the former Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters into the forbidding Grey Malkin prison for mutants. After reforming to fight a magical dragon, true story, Rogue's team of X-Men find themselves in Louisiana, ready to train a brand new group of mutants called the Outliers. They've also been warned. They've been warned twice that one of the Outliers is the ominous-sounding Endling, prophesied to bring about the end of all mutant kind. This issue kicks off inside Xavier's maximum security cell in Grey Malkin prison. So Jubilee's intel was spot on. He is in there. Where he's being taunted by his old flame / mutant hunter and hilariously referred to in the catch-up blurb as a monstrous woman. I mean, don't get me wrong, she is a monstrous woman, but just to see that written down in the comic made me giggle. She's managed to bypass prison security and get inside his more than maximum security cell.
Wow.
She tells him she could get him out of there, but she won't. He's stunned, saying out loud, "This isn't possible." And she angrily snaps back, "Don't speak to me, Charles, about what is possible." She asks where the children are and why she can't find them. And he tells her, "Whatever you think, it's between us." Oh. She replies, "Wherever they are, Charles, I'll find them and I will turn them from you." Then we cut to morning in Louisiana, where Rogue's team is staying with friends of Gambit at their farmhouse. Rogue awakens first, leaving her husband Gambit in bed and wrapping herself in just a green blanket, reminiscent of her old cloak. I see what you did there, Marquez. That was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Heads downstairs to find Wolverine, who tells her that he's leaving.
Again.
As discussed last issue, as he feels wild inside and he can't have people he cares about around him. But he's checked on the new kids and they're all sleeping peacefully. She's upset and she tells him, "You do what you got to do, Logan, but then you come home. You hear? You come home." He tells her that he's left a present outside for her. And she sits at the table kind of stunned until the owner of the farmhouse, Marcus, hits a gong and everyone assembles on the porch outside. He lays down the house rules, which are everyone has to do chores, everyone cooks, and everyone cleans. He also tells Rogue, "You're not putting any damn letters on my daughter's clothes, and put some breeches on for God's sake." Which is understandable. She is in the buff and just wearing a green blanket. So back at Grey Malkin prison, Dr. Ellis, the warden, is angry that Sarah got into Xavier's cell, which shouldn't have happened, and the cameras malfunctioned in the duration of this.
Don't they have like a super security system?
Yeah. Her creepy, bold, crutch-using sidekick Philip pipes up, "It's the children, Karina. She's going to murder the children." Back to the farmhouse, we find out that Logan's present is he's constructed outside a rudimentary, mostly wooden straw version of the Danger Room, the X-Men's training ground. And Kurt Wagner and Nightcrawler has arrived to put the Outliers through their paces. Their mission is get the belt from the elf. And he just bumps around with reckless abandon while they try and use their powers to capture the flag. This sequence is also intercut with them talking about their origin stories, and we find out Ransom was born without a heart. His condition, shaming his vain wealthy parents. So when he was kidnapped later in his life, they refused to pay his ransom. So the kidnappers shot him 14 times and threw him out a window. He survived and went on the run. Deathstream was born dead, and this was pretty grotesque, with his umbilical cord around his neck. He was born with his own noose, as he puts it, and then he died. He came back to life that night, and then he died again a few more times that night, and he found out he could self-resurrect himself. Jitter's time manipulation manifested at school, slowing down her fellow students so she could ace a 3-hour exam in an instant. An unhinged rich girl, who may or may not be a mutant, it's not clear, Calico, seems to have burned her mother's house down and run off with her superpowered horse. Deathstream plays a little too rough with Nightcrawler, basically nearly killing him. So Rogue has to step in and punch him out, yelling, "Hands off my brother." We then cut to Wolverine, who's gone off to the middle of a forest in Louisiana somewhere, where he's confronted by a monstrous woman. "Why didn't I smell you?" he asks. "Because I didn't want you to," she hisses. And she reveals her grotesque visage and the two clash claws. She's got like evil Freddy Krueger style claws going on here.
Issue 2.
"My nails," she brags, "are forged from the melted blades of murderers. They call it somber steel. Can you feel the screams of the victims?" She grins. "I can." And then she stabs her nails deep into Logan's stomach. "Don't you have a battle cry or slogan?" she asks. "Not dead yet," yells Wolverine, leaping towards her with his claws outstretched. Not exactly Avengers Assemble, is it?
No.
She sneers and stabs him again. So hard that somehow Rogue feels it through some sort of psychic link that we've never seen before from these
Just
two.
happens to have a psychic link for this issue. Okay.
Yeah. "Logan, what's happening?" "It hurts," she asks. "I'm in the dark," Logan says. "You've got to get away from them kids." Gambit, seeing his wife in distress, asks what's happening. "What do you see?" And she's like, "It's Wolverine," she stammers, terrified. "He's in the dark. He's dying." And the issue reaches its conclusion. So yeah, this was pretty good. I enjoyed it. David Marquez's artwork elevates it. He's got a different sort of art style for each one of the origin stories for the Outliers. I thought it was pretty cool. Very anime influenced stuff for Deathstream, and it was pretty cool. I'm still enjoying this book. I'm looking forward to the crossover that's coming in December.
Sounds to me that
the books.
The book's slowly declining from that incredible issue number 1. And it's just turning into another one of those trotted out X books, much like all the other X stuff that's been pushed out.
I still enjoyed it. I like spending time with these characters.
Well, end of the day, that's what they're there for. But that's a shame.
It wasn't issue 1.
No, mate. Well, I will read it, though, because I want to see what happens too. Oh, now, you talked about Mr. Hickman at the beginning of this show, and I wasn't very nice. Actually, no, I think I wasn't too bad.
No, you weren't.
So let's balance it out. There's some yin and yang. Ultimate Spider-Man number 9 from Marvel. Written by Jonathan Hickman. Art by Marco Cicchetto. Superstar superstar artist in my eyes. So far, Ultimate Spidey has been the absolute jewel of this newly relaunched Ultimate Universe, I don't know, series of books. And each issue, in my opinion, of Ultimate Spider-Man has been raising the bar month on month on month on month. So let's get into it. Now, leading on from last issue where the Kingpin has assembled his Ultimate Sinister Six, right? Some time has passed and it's now September. So Jonah and Ben, if you know, they've started up their new Rogue paper. They've left the Daily Bugle, and they're in a bar commiserating their incredible success, strangely enough. The paper has it's gone stellar. It's on track to overtake the Daily Bugle. The numbers are through the roof. But they're concerned that 8 out of the 10 stories that the big stories they publish all centre around Spider-Man, and they sort of show you that over the months Spidey's been doing good everywhere. Like he's an absolute darling of the town. Because they wanted to sort of focus on more hard-hitting, serious stories, all right? Rather than just, falling robbery story and sensational, whereas MJ who interjects, all right? Amazing stories. But they've got their big story to tell, which what this has all been leading up to. They've got some dirt on something, and this is part of the reason that they've built this paper, because they want to tell this story. However, they haven't got to that point yet. Now, MJ is actually their marketing magic girl. So she's been helping them with that, and she has to convince them, which I found really strange, right? She convinces them that you've got all these numbers, a huge mailing list, everything's going great. She has to convince them that that's good marketing and everything's good. These are seasoned newspaper men. They would know the strength of marketing. They would know that they've built this newspaper huge with Spider-Man. So anything they publish, it's going to get seen, it's going to get read. So I found that a bit weird. I think Hickman wanted to give Mary Jane a bit of a stroke. I mean, who doesn't? Anyway, moving on. Back in Oscorp Skunk Works, I'll have you know, Octavius, Harry Osborn and Spidey are getting suit upgrades. And this upgrade prevents Tony Stark from remotely controlling their suits like he did when he popped in and said hi the other day. Now, Octavius upgrades Harry's Green Goblin suit, but Spidey's suit is far more advanced Pico tech. Otto decides to offer him a new suit so that he can contain the Pico suit and investigate the tech further. And this suggestion is sort of framed in a panel of Otto in the shadows, signifying maybe there's some hidden nefarious agenda there. We don't know yet. Anyway, after a discussion with Venom, Spidey's AI, right? Spidey declines the offer, saying that the Pico Tech suit stays at home if he's going to wear another suit. So Otto unveils this Iron Spider suit, which, as you can imagine, it's got a shit ton of features: rocket launchers, stronger cartridge-based webs, concussion bombs, stun webs, lasers, EMP, bullet and explosion proofs. Like, you name it, it's got it, right? He ticks all the optional extras when he ordered it. But Spidey thinks that's not me, it's far too much. So it says, listen, I've got a second option, which turns out to be the sort of classic, more cloth-based Spidey suit that we all know and love. Well, it's more of a spandex Kevlar composite, we learn later. Anyway, back to Jonah and Ben. Well, they're working on their big story. And while that's happening, Spidey and Green Goblin are having this friendly chat about their holiday plans. When Spidey, they're on top of like a rooftop. Spidey's spider sense starts a tingling as a laser beam goes flying past, right, immobilizing Harry and disrupting his suit's AI, pretty much shutting it down as Spidey leaps out of the way. Now, who's shooting them? Well, it's the flamboyant Black Cat Senior, Mr. Black Cat. Not the, Felicia Hardy. It's her father and he's come to take them down as part of this Ultimate Six going out and getting rid of the spider issue. They start to fight. Black Cat, he brings down this water tower on top of Spidey, right, which pushes him towards him, and he starts garroting him. Now, while that's happening, Harry's getting a bit upset about it because that's his buddy, right? So Harry screams at his AI and it starts rebooting. And as Spidey escapes the Black Cat's grasp, and then smashing him against the wall, webs them all up, you think it's all over. Now, Black Cat, realising his loss, he says, just finish me then. You've won, finish me. Peter tells him, don't be ridiculous. Right? I think that's what they want to show, that Peter's has a conscience, a bit like Batman. Doesn't kill, doesn't need to. And I think I know why. Anyway, he leads into it to check and see if Harry's okay. And that gives Black Cat time to free himself. He's got some sort of mini laser knife thing that he gets from behind him, and he cuts himself free. Now, Spidey's distracted, right? He doesn't know it's happened. And he heads over to Spidey to maybe cut him up. I don't know. Maybe behead him. Harry's suit comes back online. He blasts him, and it sends him flying off the building, plummeting to the sidewalk. All right? Now, that's not good. So they go over, and they go and check, and he's there, broken legs and everything else. And of course, because they're the good guys, they call an ambulance, but they discuss what's happened. Spidey's concerned Harry went too far because he didn't sense any, his Spidey sense didn't go off, right? So it's like he didn't sense the danger. And I think it was like a huge response to something that could have been dealt with differently. Harry defends his actions, saying that they need to play the same game the villains are playing, right? Which Peter does not agree. He says they're supposed to be the heroes. They need to be better than that. Conscience, do the right thing. Harry categorically tells him if it comes down to it, he ain't going to hesitate to kill. So I think this issue is very much showing that duality of the way Peter looks at things and Harry looks at things, and Harry's going to go dark and Peter's Spidey. Anyway, slow paced, which I like. Action packed, which I like. I love how we're seeing Spidey and Harry move towards their sort of more traditional roles that we're used to. Spidey's becoming more Spidey, the same kind of Spidey that we've loved for the last 60 years, not the Spidey that Zeb Wells destroyed. But you know what? Even though some people don't like the slow burn, I think that's its strength. It's building and building. It's putting me more and more into story. It's not perfect. Like I mentioned, the whole 2-season newspaper men not understanding marketing, right? That's not really, it's a bit weird. And also after this revelation from the Black Cat that they're coming for them, right? He doesn't seem bothered. It's like, okay, well, it's Tuesday. He I don't think there's no recognizing the fear that they are being hunted. But you know what? They're small little things that you can overlook because the book is just so good. And you know what? With Marco Cicchetto drawing it, it could be the worst story in the world and I would still love it because every page is an absolute joy. But all in all, a highlight of the week and a highlight each month, to be honest. I 100% recommend it. I really, really, really enjoyed it. A great cover too. So, Jimmy, that brings us to the end. Book of the week time. What's the book of the week for Jimbo?
For me, my book of the week this week is Helen of Wyndhorn, issue 5. Absolutely fantastic.
I did not expect that.
The artwork, you're pulling for this guy from Ultimate Spider-Man. Bilquis Evely, she does incredible, beautiful artwork. You need to read this book.
I'm going to. I was very much stacking it up to read it as a first arc. Brilliant. My book of the week, hands down, has to be The Last Halloween. It was just too good.
Okay.
Everything about it was absolutely perfect. What more could you ask for? What more could you ask for? So looking ahead to next week, what's on the agenda? What are you looking forward to?
Well, next week, Angelo, I am all in on DC because we've got Absolute Power issue 4. And then Scott Snyder returns to DC to co-write with Joshua Williamson on DC's All In special issue 1.
I saw that.
Where they're going to introduce the Absolute universe,
which I'm very much looking forward to. Okay, for me,
cool stuff.
Yeah, I hope so. I've seen a few bits and bobs which make me excited by it. So there's quite a few number ones next week, but staples next week: Birds of Prey and Nemesis Rogues Gallery. I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, nice.
I know, and that, my friend, brings us to the end. And at least this week we've got time. So thanks for sticking with us. Say goodbye, Jim. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye. Take care.